Welcome to the War Room. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer. It is Tuesday, June 19th, 2018. Big broadcast ahead for you. Dr. Steve Pachinik joins me in 30 minutes. We'll break down geopolitics with him. Roger Stone in the second hour. And then Savannah Hernandez joins me in studio in the third hour. Okay. Wow. Well, the testimonies from yesterday from the Inspector General and from Christopher Wray at the FBI were about as pathetic as you could expect. And it's incredible that James Comey can come out, report on the findings of the investigation into Hillary Clinton, all of these chargeable offenses that she's guilty of. And then what does he say? Nah, I think we'll pass. No one in their right mind would prosecute Hillary. Well, why is that? Because they'd end up dead? Or because there is no justice system anymore? I'm just asking the questions. Then you have Michael Horowitz file a 500-page Inspector General report investigating just how and why the Hillary Clinton email investigation ended up being shut down. And what do they find? Not only huge cases of bias, but also cases of leaking classified information, cases of insubordination. It goes on and on. But then what does he find? No bias. No referral to charge. And it's really infuriating. And it just makes me kind of go back to my roots when I broke into politics. And the answer is simple. Smaller government, less government, just less. Just shut them down. Just shut down the FBI, shut down. I'm serious. People think I'm joking, think I'm nuts. I'm dead serious. I'd shut them all down. And the quote unquote rank and file can be delegated to state or local law enforcement and can continue to do whatever they're doing to stop terrorism, stop child trafficking. But it's clear that the FBI and the DOJ have no intent on actually having justice in this country, restoring justice in this country, or restoring faith in those institutions. So if you're not going to do your job and you're not going to try to restore faith in the public, why even exist? Why not just shut you down? Because you technically shouldn't even exist. Like, for example, I'm seeing people complaining. There was some quote about this CIA engineer. First of all, he leaks all the classified information from the CIA. It's the Vault 7 leaks, okay? This happened about a year ago, I believe. The Vault 7 leaks came out. And so it shows you exactly what you expected. The CIA, the FBI, all, the NSA, they have access to everything right here. They can hack into this. My phone right here, they can record me. They can turn my camera on, turn the voice recorder on, look at all my data, look at my messages, everything. They got it. And you're seeing some of this with some of the stuff that's coming out. And then they say, oh, I forget his name, Schulte, the CIA engineer who leaked the Vault 7 WikiLeaks, he is a traitor to the CIA. He's a traitor. No, the CIA isn't in the Constitution. The CIA is not a part of the fabric of this country. The CIA is not part of the foundation of this country. I don't care what they want you to believe. I don't care how they sell themselves. The CIA could be wiped out tomorrow by Congress or by President Trump, and I wouldn't shed a tear. In fact, I'd celebrate. So you can't be treasonous or traitorous to the CIA, in my opinion, because the CIA is inherently treasonous and traitorous. This is the War Room. Welcome in. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer. We're going to be joined by Dr. Steve Pachinik here in just 30 minutes. Roger Stone in the second hour. And then Savannah Hernandez in studio. But first, you see, the left can't meme, so what do? They try to ban memes. That's why they ban conservatives on social media. That's why they try to ratchet down our views on YouTube and Facebook and the like. It's all because they can't compete. So now they can't compete in the meme war. They lost the meme war. So now they're just going to make memeing illegal. Here's Paul Joseph Watson with that report.
doing it. They're coming for the one thing that we thought was sacred. They're coming to ban the memes. Researchers at University College London have developed an algorithm that can automatically detect and censor hateful content before it's uploaded. What could possibly go wrong? Could this algorithm be abused by partisan social media giants to prevent the viral spread of memes that benefit right-of-centre political movements and candidates? They'd never do such a thing, would they? But why does this matter? Because memes can change history. As Richard Dawkins first explained, memes are like genes for information, and human evolution has been guided as much by memes as genes. Memes compete with each other for survival. Control the meme, control future human thought and behavior. This is about influence. Leftist websites like Salon, The New Yorker and The Guardian have been bitterly complaining for years about the undue influence of meme warfare on contemporary politics. They warn that the political meme has become the centerpiece of disinformation campaigns, and the ability of memes to communicate ideology is boundless. The power of the political meme has never been greater. Now, what possible motive do you think the left could have for wanting to ban memes? Could it really be because the left can't meme? Surely not. I mean, surely they wouldn't. Yep, it's that. The University College London study found that the most effective and widely spread memes largely originated in two places: the Donald and Paul, both of which aren't really known for their left-wing sympathies. So now we finally have solid proof, backed up by the kind of facts and logic that would even put Ben Shapiro to shame, that the left can't meme. And as we all know, if something doesn't benefit the left, the only reasonable thing to do is ban it. So you remember I mentioned that algorithm which is able to identify harmful content and prevent it from being uploaded? Guess what the EU wants to make social media companies do? Develop an algorithm that can identify harmful content and prevent it from being uploaded. Well, imagine my shock. The EU's new Article 13 copyright proposal, which will be voted on this week, would force websites to install upload filters that would automatically censor any content deemed to be a copyright violation. This is a complete misunderstanding of both fair use and transformative content. But this is the EU we're talking about, and they're not known for having a firm grasp of the sovereign interests of the individual. Google-owned YouTube and Facebook already have filters that block porn and copyrighted content before it's posted. So in effect, all this will achieve is a de facto ban on memes and a draconian crackdown on the sharing of information. You know, the entire foundation of how the internet is structured and what makes it work. The proposal would also institute a link tax, which would require users to get a license from the publisher just to include snippets from a news article like this. I literally wouldn't be allowed to display a screenshot from a news article like this without getting sued for copyright violation. Click the link in the description below to contact your MEP and tell them to vote against this absurd proposal. Because if it's implemented and used as a template for other countries outside of the EU, the internet as we know and love it is finished. In short, Article 13 will impose widespread censorship of all the content you share online, be it a parody video, a remix, a meme, a blog post, comments on Reddit, a piece of code, live streaming your gaming experience, or even a link in a tweet. Spain also wants to ban memes that are insulting to politicians. CNN doxes and harasses people for posting memes. So it's a pincer movement. On the one hand, you've got the establishment in general that doesn't understand the language of memes and is therefore frustrated that it can't control them. Then on the other hand, you've got the political left, which no longer understands humour and therefore is completely useless at creating them. At the legislative level, they're going to use copyright laws to censor memes. And at the cultural level, they're going to continue to hype the contrived moral panic of spicy memes being a new form of virulent online hate speech. Just as many left-wing websites have removed comment sections because studies prove they influence the reader more than the article itself, this is yet another attempt to rig the game and monopolize the narrative. It doesn't matter what your politics are. Censorship can never be justified. And all this serves as yet another reminder that the future political battlefield of ideas won't be decided on who has the best ideas. It won't be decided on who is most skilled at communicating a message to others on a level playing field. It will be decided on who controls the algorithm. Studies have proven that algorithms can potentially shift millions of votes in national elections. So until we stem the relentless tide of social media censorship that is undermining the democratization of information, we're all slaves to the algorithm.
Well, I gotta tell you, if they ban memes, how will we ever discover the Aid Skrillexes of the world? That is just an absolute denial right there of pure cultural entertainment, that they would deny us Aid Skrillex and all the beautiful memes that followed. Unbelievable. But the overarching story is the same. And you can say left, right. It just so happens in the modern day nomenclature and Overton window that these issues land with the people that claim to be liberal or on the political left. But this isn't really a left-right issue. This is a free speech issue. This is a totalitarian issue. This is an authoritarian issue. That's what this really is. And what you're seeing is the brainwashed minions are able to be manipulated by media and believe whatever it tells them. And if they're being told that stopping memes means stopping Trump, then they're going to be okay with that. Now, we deal with censorship here at InfoWars. In fact, today is the first day we've been able to go live from the War Room's channel in, what is it, guys? 3, 4, 5 months? Something like that. We've been banned from going live. Today, we are back live. How long is it, guys? 4 months? So we're back live today, warroom.show. This is our main page. This is our main channel. This is where we want the traffic to be driven. We get banned for more than 3 months from going live here. We're back today. Now, when we were going live, we surged right up to about 36,000 subscribers, and then they hit us with the live ban, and that curtailed our growth. So please go to warroom.show. Subscribe to our channel, and that's where you can find the live feeds now. So we're back live at warroom.show. That is our YouTube channel. That is where we want to drive most of our traffic. Of course, we have the satellites out there for all of the InfoWars live programming, infowars.com/show, InfoWars Live, Planet News Live. I mean, we've got like 10 different satellites, plus the Alex Jones channel and everything. So, but we deal with censorship, and that's why we need your support at InfoWarsStore.com. If we can expand in the face of their censorship, this is like total ultimate victory and breaks the backs of the authoritarian left that wants to ban memes, wants to censor free speech, and wants to control the internet. So if you go to InfoWarsStore.com today, it's the final day of free shipping store-wide and 50% off some of our top-selling products like Super Male Vitality, Survival Shield X2, Brain Force Plus, the Real Red Pill Plus. It's all at InfoWarsStore.com, and it makes our expansion possible. They're trying to tie our hands and our feet and keep us from swimming, and we keep beating them, and they're pulling their hair out. InfoWarsStore.com. So here's the deal. The Democrats are retreating to one of their favorite plays in their playbook, which is using children for their political agenda. This is something the Democrats have been doing my whole life. So much so, in fact, I didn't even realize it until yesterday. I heard a clip of Democrats in the 90s, before multiple times in midterm elections coming up, saying Republicans want to starve children. Republicans want to kill children. Republicans want to separate children. Meanwhile, the Democrats are the ones that fund the abortion clinics that murder millions of people every year. The Democrats are the ones that encourage people to come up with the migrant caravan through Mexico to America and then get separated from their families. That's the Democrats. But why is this going on? This is the key. The truth of the matter is, the reason why the Democrats are lying about immigration right now, and the reason why the Democrats are using children as a political pawn, is because the midterms are coming up and they are desperate. You see, they don't have a message. They don't even really have an agenda. Think about it. What agenda do the Democrats have? What message do they have? Hate Trump? Hasn't really worked for them. But they kind of have that lingering. That's kind of a given. So now they're saying, well, we're here to protect the children, even though we want you to abort your children. You know, we're going to use children as a political pawn when it works for our agenda. Say a school shooting, say immigration. Abortion, though, no, they won't go there. But again, this is the key. The reason why the Democrats are lying about immigration right now, the reason why the Democrats are making this such a big deal right now is because the midterms are coming up and they have nothing else to run on. But here's the underlying fact that they won't tell you. The Democrat Party has lost its stranglehold on the African-American vote. They relied on the African-American vote. They no longer have that. So now they're looking for a new class of voters to be legislated onto the voter rolls so that they can then get their votes because they know they don't have the votes to win an election right now. So that's what's going on. Now, let's get into what's going on here with some of these news headlines. So again, border separations ripple through midterm campaigns. This is from the GJ Sentinel. Exactly. It's all about the midterms. This is all about the Democrats desperate with the midterms coming up without a message, so they have to use children as a political pawn. Now, I've got the clips. We've got the clips, and we've played the clips. We played them yesterday. We'll play some again today. The Democrats used to call for border control. The Democrats used to say, you can't come here. The Democrats used to say, don't bring your kids here. You might get separated from them. It's not our fault. In fact, think about this. In 2008, after Obama was elected, the Congress that took over in 2009 with Barack Obama, the Democrats had the White House, the Democrats had the House of Representatives, and the Democrats had the Senate, all of them. And they didn't change one law when it comes to immigration that they're complaining about right now. Do you see how phony these people are? And this might be the phoniest of them all. Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, this is truly incredible, ladies and gentlemen. He tweets out multiple things against Trump today, but perhaps the most disingenuous. Donald Trump is destroying what's left of the U.S. greatness, crushing human rights, tearing families apart, starting trade wars. What more will he take? We must unite and go beyond fears. He cannot win. Okay, so that's really saying America cannot win. But let's break this down. First of all, you want to talk about human rights. America has taken more refugees into this country in the last decade than every other country combined. America has given more foreign aid to other countries probably than any other country combined. So don't talk to me about human aid, Vicente Fox, you fraud, you phony, you mouth for the globalist Democrat Party. But then he says that, oh, it's America and Trump violating the human rights. Well, wait a second now. Vicente Fox, the migrants literally come through Mexico. So these migrants, these desperate humanitarian in-need migrants literally come through Mexico. And what does Mexico do? Nothing. They say you can be here for 2 weeks and then you got to get out. Or we're sending you to a forced labor camp. And that's what goes on in Mexico. And then what do? They send them to the United States, where the data has just come out. Child border crossers enjoy nearly 3 times higher standard of living than average American class middle American children. Now, you can debate on that. This measurement is simply based on financials. So a child that comes here and gets in through HHS receives roughly $35,000 annually from the government compared to the middle class citizen, which is about 16 grand. And we've got the clips on that we'll play later. But then here's Vicente Fox saying America is the one that's not humanitarian when it's Mexico that passes them on to us and then we take them in. Now think about this. And I'm not encouraging violence. Trust me. I'm just trying to make a point as to where we're at right now. You see, a few hundred years ago, if somebody like this would have been gaslighting and lying and intentionally trying to tear people apart, intentionally lying about people, you know what would have happened? This guy would have been taken out back and beaten to a pulp. It's what you would have gotten with some of these FBI agents as well, some of these traitors in America. But you know what? That's fine. We're more civilized humans now, so that's good. We don't handle our battles like that. I'm not calling for any violence here. I'm just saying what Vicente Fox is doing to gaslight people today and to lie about America and lie about President Trump. Where I come from, them fighting words, bud. And then what does he say? Trump can't win. They are the ones that want to fight. Don't you see it? They are the ones that want to bring America down. They're fighting America every day. And this is why we have to stand up. Oh, and by the way, your humanitarian Mexico, 114 candidates in Mexico's upcoming elections have been murdered so far. But let's bring those drug cartels into America, which, by the way, they say, for the children. You think these drug cartels are stupid? They're smarter than Obama. They know how the U.S. immigration policy works. So what do? They send in children with MS-13 gang members to get them over the border. It works. They send in children that have drugs because they know that if children get caught at the border with drugs, they will not get prosecuted, they will not get arrested. So what is MS-13? What do the drug cartels do? They use children to sneak in drugs, and they use children to sneak in gang members. And this is what the Democrats are virtue signaling for. Why don't we stop allowing gangs to actively use child trafficking to promote gang-affiliated activity? I mean, this is insane. This is how desperate the Democrats are. Dr. Steve Pieczenik joins me now, and of course, Dr. Steve Pieczenik is a savant when it comes to geopolitics and regime change, and really just kind of on everything I've come to learn, interviewing and talking with him over the course of the War Room. So glad to be joined by Dr. Pieczenik here. Steve, I've got a litany of topics that I want to get into with you. I've got the trade war, for lack of a better term, with China. I've got Comey perhaps now under investigation. I've got the U.S. withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. And you've got the CIA engineer who was responsible for the Vault 7 WikiLeaks now being charged with possessing child pornography. Those are the four topics that I've got on my mind for you, Dr. Pieczenik. Anything tickling your fancy? Anything you want to get into here?
I think the most important thing to get into right now, Owen, is the fact that the markets are very nervous with regards to the tariff that's been imposed by China and reciprocally by Trump. Now, here is the paradox of what I'm about to say and what Trump really was about to do. And Trump does not always work in a linear fashion, and this is what makes it fascinating. Number one, Trump has warned China that it's putting a $50 billion tariff on goods, as we've known about steel and aluminum. More importantly, he said he's going to put another $100 billion on tariffs. Now, the reason he's doing it is not to target President Xi. What he is doing, unbeknownst to most people, is he's targeting our representatives on the Hill. And what do I mean by that? What he's doing is playing chicky with our senators and congressmen to say to them, look, I, Trump, had promised President Xi of China that I would resuscitate ZTE Corporation, which has 77,000 people who will be out of work. Now, I know that you know that our intelligence system, the military system, has given over technology which the Chinese have stolen. Despite that, I still want to have ZTE resuscitated so I can make deals with President Xi that will alleviate all of these embargoes. So ironically, he is hitting Congress and nobody's picking it up. The target is not President Xi. What will happen is that in the initiation of this embargo, it's creating clearly fears in the stock market. I'm getting hurt. Others are getting hurt. There's a pullback of about 300 to 400 points, and then even might continue more to include several distribution days where we then get into a severe panic. But the point of fact right now is not that Trump wants to create that panic. What he wants to create is fear in our Congress to say, boys, you want to put that military bill in there, you're going to have an exclusion, particularly an exclusion for ZTE Corporation in Beijing, so that Xi can hire the 77,000 people. And despite the fact that the technology may have stolen, I promised Xi that this is what's going to happen. So I'm putting on these embargoes to frighten you, not to frighten Xi, and Xi is acting accordingly. So this is kind of a very paradoxical situation, but he does work in very unusual ways. It is not erratic. It is not mercurial. It's just very sophisticated.
Well, I've noticed that too, and I like the way you explain that he doesn't work in a linear fashion. It's kind of the 6D chess thing, but I think that makes a little more sense when it comes to some of these negotiation tactics where, for example, you know, I didn't support the bailing out of ZTE, but you pull back and you look at the overall picture, and then you see the angle. You see how he's playing different pieces of the puzzle. You see different, things moving and shifting. So you've got the tariffs being levied back and forth, which you already commented on. But then you've got this interesting ripple. The Trump administration promised Apple it would not place tariffs on iPhones. Dr. Prochanek, what does this have to do with the fact that Apple has pretty much decided to go with China instead of the United States when it comes to their headquarters? And why would the Trump administration want to give this promise to Apple of not placing tariffs on their iPhones?
Because the president of Apple has done a very good job negotiating between China and the United States. A lot of the Apple products or the infrastructure is built in China. What President Trump is trying to say is, look, this is a goodwill example by allowing the president of Apple to go forth and letting the products of China be used on an Apple product. What I really want is to have, again, the ZTE Corporation keep the 77,000 people, because that would be catastrophic if it goes under. And I promised President Xi that he would have these technologies, even though I know our own people in the military intelligence, in the military, and in the CIA do not want us to have that technology. They don't want the Chinese to have it. The truth between you, me, and the InfoWars crowd is that Israel will provide the Chinese all the technology they need, because Israel now is getting closer to China. China's moved into the Middle East. It's working with Iran. It's working with Israel. It's working with Saudi Arabia. It's working with everybody whom we've left. So in effect, we're just going through a kabuki when it comes to the tariffs. But that kabuki is very important in terms of the strategy and tactics that Trump is trying to apply in order to get the Congress to move. It's not directed at Xi, but Xi will then respond in kind. Unfortunately, that's part of the game, and the game can be quite catastrophic.
Well, and while what we're talking about here deals with China, I think that what we're seeing, the average American looking at this from their perspective kind of is confused by this. Right. A lot of the headlines can be misleading, understandably. And I think that's because we haven't really had a situation where a president is truly negotiating. I mean, that's really what this is. I mean, if it's confusing, it's because these are ongoing negotiations, just like a lot of the other stuff that has people confused. This is what pushback looks like. This is what an outsider getting in looks like. That's what we're looking at here. But there's another ripple to this that I find people never want to talk about. And, maybe a lot of it isn't on record, but we have enough circumstantial evidence, I think, to assume that what's going on here, and you may be privy to other information, that what Trump is doing behind the scenes is he is literally on the phone hours on end, talking to CEOs, talking to Apple, talking to Alphabet. I was looking into Larry Page and Larry Ellison today because I was doing a little bit of research into the richest people in America. And you come to find out, some of these people aren't really that anti-Trump. They might not like some of his policies and have different politics, but they're at least willing to negotiate with him. They see what Trump's trying to do. So just speak to that angle here, Dr. Prochanek, that you're not really seeing reported. Trump is literally like, why are you seeing all these jobs growth? Why are you seeing these numbers? Why is it? Because he's literally on the phone every day talking to people to get this done.
What you're saying is correct, Owen. For the first time in half a century or more, we've had a businessman I can't emphasize enough what it means to be an American businessman. We are not confined to rules or regulations of protocol. We're not confined to the State Department, what is right, what is wrong, or the UN dictum. Basically, a businessman like Trump, who creates his own company, creates his own way of negotiating. But there's nothing aberrant. He stated in The Art of the Deal, I will create any duplicity I need. I will create confusion. I will create anything to increase my leverage capacity, even though I'm going to have to kick the side ball or hit the side ball in the side pocket in order to get what I need. The deal is the deal. He is most focused on how to get the deal. For example, in real estate, he says very simply, look, location, location, location isn't the most important thing in real estate. Wow, what a revelation. He says the deal is the most important. So when it comes to China, when it comes to the world economics, what is important for America is the fact that we have a businessman that's saying for the first time, whoa, guys, the French have been taking advantage of us. The Germans have been taking advantage of us. The Canadians have been taking advantage of us. Enough is enough. Basta.
Mexico's been taking advantage of us. And I like that analogy. It's like, okay, Trump's at the pool table and he's got the 8-ball left. He's like, all right, 8-ball corner pocket. And then he's aimed at the other side of the table. And you're like, what the heck is he doing? And then he hits it off 4 sidewalls and then in the corner pocket and then just sits there and says, cheers. All right, Dr. Steve Pachinik is my guest here for one more segment. Steve, I want to change lanes with you here, if you don't mind. I think we tackled that last segment successfully. You got this story from NBC News today, and it's obviously being reported everywhere now. U.S. to withdraw from UN Human Rights Council. Well, my opinion personally is this is one step in the right direction. I'd like to remove ourselves from the UN entirely, and I think that would knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We'd get out of the UN, and then I'd never have to hear from Nikki Haley again. Both things I fully support. But what does this mean to you, Dr. Pachinik, and your knowledge of how the UN was founded and what it is still here to do? What do you think it signifies that the U.S. is now to withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council, which, by the way, is led by Saudi Arabia, if you can manage that?
By the way, I mean, it means nothing. I've used the UN in Cambodia. They were very ineffective as a peacekeeping group. I had to worry about their unregulated trade, their covert operations. The UN is a useless organization. What it's used for primarily by all countries is to house their operatives and intelligence officers. For the most part, nothing is accomplished at the UN. It never really succeeded. I worked with them. Like many organizations, they're useless, and we spend a lot of time. But let's get to a more important issue, the border, which is what you talked about. These crocodile tears by Laura Bush and Hillary Clinton are really amazing, because it was Laura Bush who didn't say anything when her husband, the criminal Bush Jr., initiated the false flag of 9/11, killing 3,000 Americans, then goes into an illegal war in Iraq where he distorted the intelligence. Another 3,000 are killed, plus 300,000 are displaced. Then we talk about Hillary Clinton, the woman who has created more deaths than anybody else. I go back to Rwanda in the 1980s when Bill Clinton, the coward, was told repeatedly by me and others to intercede in Rwanda to prevent the killing of 1 million Tutsis. It was Hillary who told him not to do it, and Bill Clinton, of course, didn't do it. So she's responsible for the death of 1 million Tutsis. She's responsible for the death of people in Libya, for the hundreds of thousands of people who had to swarm into France, Spain, and Italy, who then died, the 300,000 who have been killed in Syria, one woman alone. Then we talk about Mrs. Carter. I would be very careful, Mrs. Carter, if I want to bring up Jimmy Carter's history of not having saved lives when I had to be called in, the Hanafi Muslim, and the FBI couldn't do what they did. And Jimmy Carter wanted to walk away from 156 hostages. And if I hadn't insisted and been treasonous, you would have had 156 deaths on your hand. So each one of these crocodile tears ladies have to be very careful about their history, because they know they're lying. They know that their posturing is fake. And the American people really don't care about the First Lady. The only First Lady we care about is the only one who's been a refugee and the only one who's lived in a fascist state. And who that might be? Melania Trump. And she is elegant, she's smart, she's discreet, and she says exactly what she has to say and no more. That is the only first lady I will listen to. When you live under communism or fascism, as she had, and her father was head of the Communist Party in Slovenia, then you know a lot about what it means to be suppressed and repressed and to be grateful to be in America. Otherwise, these first ladies should keep their mouths shut because they have no significance in our history or in our future.
Yeah, who in the heck do the Bushes and the Clintons think they are to try to classify Donald Trump as some brute or somebody who is not a humanitarian when the destruction of the nations of Libya and Iraq can be tied directly to their names? I mean, but Steve, I think what's the most egregious thing about this is that they're able to get away with it. I mean, this is amazing to me.
They're not, Owen, because of guys like you and Alex and others. No, they're not. Because what happens in the narrative, the minute you puncture it the way we're doing it right now, then everybody begins to balk for a minute. And believe it or not, the New York Times follows what you do. And then a day or two later, they come back with a kind of softened narrative about where these women are. And they put them in perspective because they do listen to what you say. Trust me. I watch it later on the mainstream news. And you see the entire cabala of leftists, or whatever you want to call it, the ignorant and the arrogant, cannot sustain the narrative because it doesn't work. There is no validity in what they're talking about. What happens at the border? I'm a refugee. We are, vetted out for 6 years, not 1 day, not 2 days, 6 years we were vetted out. And I was proud to choose to become an American. In doing so, I joined the military. And I said I was grateful to serve our country. That is the approach we need for America, not just everybody who wants to come in here and because, quote, there's political asylum. These are not political asylums. These are M13 gangsters. They came out in the 1980s. And guess where they're located? Salvadorians. In Tacoma Park, Maryland, in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Antonio, Boston, all the liberal states that have them, including Toronto, Canada. So you have 10,000 M13s who I've known about for 20 years or more, worked against them, have seen them, and have warned them that they are unnoticed. But Trump is the first president to even mention the Salvadorian gang. And where do they go? To every place that one of these whining governors has said, oh, it's terrible. Really? Then what are you doing in Maryland, Logan? What are you, the governor Logan, doing in Tacoma Park? You have the headquarters of the M13. I want to hear the answer. What are you doing, governor of California, when you have it right here in Sacramento? You have it in Los Angeles, where they started. I remember when they were coming around with the Crips and the Bloods. What are you doing, governor? I mean, that is the real question that has to be posited back to each one of these liberals, because the narrative goes only one way. And because the history is not well known or well documented, we have to repeat the attack again and again. Texas, San Antonio, that's lovely, Laura Bush. You live on the corner there. But how many M13s did your husband get rid of when he was governor? None. How many M13s did he get rid of when he was president? None. How many M13s did Bill Clinton get rid of? None. As a matter of fact, they grew in numbers during the Clinton and Obama administration.
Well, they're great at smuggling cocaine. I mean,
Cocaine is only the beginning. They're ruthless killers. These guys are in the business of killing. They're not in the business of cocaine. That's just the money distribution. What they like to do is hack up people. The weapon they use
So multiple interests for the Clintons, then, you're saying? Multiple interests.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's correct. But think of this for a moment. What group uses a psychological weapon like a machete? Most terrorist groups use a gun or a knife, but the machete has a very heinous aspect to it. It has a very nasty overtone to it. And it symbolizes exactly what the Salvadorians want to say to us for giving them a war that we never resolved or admitted to. And that was the civil war in Salvador. And who gave it to them? Our predecessors. Do you hear any one of these people talking about it? No. Laura Bush? No. The Bush family, they were involved with the Civil War? No. They know nothing about the past, and they're clean of any sins. Isn't that an amazing virtue to have in America? Why? Because ignorance is the keystone of our education. And what we have not done in this country is to educate our people. And thanks to you and Alex and others, we're breaking what's called the fake narrative. You talk about fake news, forget about fake news. We have no knowledge. The lacunae of knowledge about what has happened in our country in the past 5, 10, and 15 years. It's not complicated. You don't have to go to Harvard to learn about the M13. They're right in Boston. You don't have to know the governor of Massachusetts to know that he screwed up. And they're all over Boston, Lowell, and in other states. So, let's get back at the discussion and get it real and in perspective. What's happening is not that the liberals they don't even know what they're talking about. It's just ad hominem. But when we really talk about specific points, M13, 9/11, all the tariffs, the agreements, the covert operations, the covert agreements that the Bushes made to make money, and then we accuse the Trumps of being crooked, give me a break. My God, the Bushes is one of the most cowardly families in this country. If you go back to the history of Father Bush, do you really think...
Where are all the protests with Prescott Bush working with the Nazis? I mean, he's literally, the Bush's wealth is probably built off Nazi gold with Prescott Bush. I mean, it's crazy. But Dr. Prochanek, I guess the hope is, as we let you go here, and thank you for joining us as always, I guess the hope is that the American public see this now, and they see all these people revealing themselves for who they really are, and the American public isn't that stupid. I guess that's my only hope as we're seeing this play out.
Only if you give the commentary, or Alex gives the commentary. There must be your commentary involved. Without that,
and that's why they're trying to shut us down. Dr. Steve Pieczenik always has his nose right over the evidence. Right there it is. So, the Democrats that are currently virtue signaling over the children at the border, which, I mean, nobody likes to see this here. Let's not pretend like we're dehumanizing the issue. We're just trying to figure out what the deal is here. But the virtue signaling from the Democrats is so phony, it hurts. Now, Trump's putting them in cages, Trump's separating from the families. Well, all the viral video and photos were from the Obama years. And as far as the separation of families, I looked into the law. Basically, when you cross the border and you're seeking asylum and you have a child with you, you have to go to the Department of Homeland Security for your background check. The child goes through the Health and Human Services. That's been on the books since 74, if I recall correctly, or maybe it was 77. But regardless, it's been on the books. That's what gets to the root of that. Then what happens is so many people are coming across the border, it becomes an overwhelming issue. And so they basically have to make these makeshift shelters, and this is what you find. But look at some of this that you have here. Now, this was brought to my attention, some organization called RAICES. It's RAICES. I don't know what it is. They had a $2 million donation goal for the, quote, reunite an immigrant parent with their child. I don't know what these people are doing. I don't know if they're bad, if they're good. I'm not here to comment on that. The point is, they've now gone over $5 million and have increased their donations to $6 million. Now, I started a fund to help inner city kids in St. Louis who had their sports equipment stolen from their school. And I had a couple grand down to get that. Well, I couldn't get a bunch of donations. That was a struggle for us to complete that. Oh, but the Democrats make it a cause celeb issue. They get millions and millions of dollars for non-Americans immediately. But let's look at the facts behind this. When it comes to the finances, children that come to this country through this illegal process or through the process that's right now being demonized, cost the taxpayer $35,000 a year, where an American middle-class family of 4, each child costs the parents about $13,000 a year. So that's 3 times financially the standard of living that these people are having to endure, plus all the donations. And then let's go to clip 15. Look at what the border chief is saying about the current status of these children.
The shelters that they're referring to are operated by Health and Human Services. They're very well appointed. They're the one that's been in the media over this last week. There are 1,500 boys there. They have PlayStations, pool tables. It's far from a concentration camp, and people should be more accurate when they describe what we're trying to accomplish there.
They have TVs.
Commissioner, I want to get to the policy, but I just want to ask one more question about the rhetoric. What is the impact?
All right, bring it down. And then there was some rapper Extension that died recently, and a video goes viral of him literally donating a bunch of PS4s and Xboxes and everything to these children. It's like, these kids get help. And then let's go to clip 11, Kirsten Nelson addressing the issue.
I want to take a minute to address the consequences of actually enforcing our immigration law. There has been much outcry, consternation, and frankly misinformation from many in the press, in Congress, and advocacy groups over the last few weeks that we at DHS are intentionally doing things that are unhumanitarian.
It's all the Democrat Party. It's all
cruel,
Democrat Party run, Soros run.
And disgraceful. We aren't doing none of those things. We are enforcing the laws passed by Congress, and we are doing all that we can in the executive branch to protect our communities.
Many passed by Democrats.
It is now time that Congress asks to fix our broken immigration system.
Just like the racist
We will not apologize for the job we do or for the job law enforcement does for doing the job that the American people expect
so
us
basically,
to do.
But you get the point is, it's another false narrative. It's another virtue signaling contest with no basis in reality or fact. And this is all the Democrats have now. But the key is, again, it's not about the kids. It's not about the law. It's about a voter block. They don't have enough votes to win in the midterms. They have to legislate themselves millions of votes. It's the only hope they have. Well. What do we have here? James Comey under investigation for handling of classified information. Well, if it goes anything like the investigation into Hillary Clinton, he'll be found guilty and then get to walk scot-free. But I guess that's none of my business. Roger Stone joins us now. Roger, have you been enjoying any Russian vodka lately?
No, I have to stay away from that stuff, comrade. I mean, Owen. Look, this whole drama regarding what's happening at the border and the separation of children from their families when people, both children and families, attempt to enter the country illegally, is meant to be a distraction from the fact that in Washington, the Russian collusion narrative is coming crashing down around the ankles of the Obama administration and those who very clearly were trying to subvert the law and the Constitution for the purposes of hijacking a presidential election. They continue to stonewall questions about surveillance of the Trump campaign with the use of unconstitutional FISA warrants. I watched Attorney General Jeff Sessions last night on with Laura Ingraham. He indicated that progress was being made in terms of turning that information over from the Justice Department to the Congress, but I will believe it when I see it. I think this is the linchpin of the criminal conspiracy to deny Donald Trump the White House. I think this is the linchpin of the insurance policy that Peter Strzok was talking about in his text messages. And as for the conversations regarding, or I should say the testimony regarding Mr. Horowitz and Mr. Wray, I literally couldn't watch it. I had to turn it off because it is one giant bureaucratic whitewash. Their conclusions just don't meet their findings. They find egregious evidence of political bias and illegal activity, and then they conclude that nobody can be prosecuted. This is the establishment taking care of their own.
Do you think that's what this is, Roger? Is this just even Ray, who, I mean, let's withhold judgment at this point and just say good guy, bad guy, okay, but is he just trying to protect the Bureau? Is this Michael Horowitz saying, okay, well, good guy, bad guy, I don't know. Is he just trying to protect the DOJ because they know this information, the revelations that are coming out, all of what, in my opinion, is treason, but at the very least is insubordination? I mean, to me, this is shaking the very foundations of those institutions, and that's why they're trying to protect it, because maybe they're afraid, uh-oh, if the CIA or the FBI or the DOJ goes down, you know, I might be out of a job too.
Look, I think it's a cover-up. I think it is a bureaucratic cover-up. Basically, all Chris Wray did was recycle that speech that we showed last week on the War Room that literally made me sputter with anger. This guy doesn't admit that they did anything wrong. We're going to have sensitivity training to make sure this never happens.
What is that?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, Roger. This is, have you ever heard of something more absurd? They have, oh, we just found out that there's bias in the FBI. We're going to have training to make sure you're not biased. This is the FBI. This is supposed to be the cream of the crop. This is supposed to be the upper echelon. You shouldn't be having to train people for anything except being an FBI agent, let alone some snowflake, cupcake, strawberry bias training. What?
Not only that, but they tell us in one breath that Peter Strzok was not in a position to actually make decisions. Therefore, his evident bias didn't matter. Yet Peter Strzok was the FBI agent who questioned General Mike Flynn in the interview for which Flynn was indicted and allegedly lied, even though the FBI concluded that he hadn't lied. That certainly sounds to me like he was in a position of responsibility.
Well, yeah, he was investigating Hillary Clinton. He investigated Hillary too.
And it appears that Peter Strzok was the one who was wiring these illegal, unconstitutional FISA warrants with Judge Rudy Contreras, who then mysteriously recuses himself from the case and is replaced by another judge. That, to me, is an indication that something is wrong there. Is it coincidental that this is the exact information that Rod Rosenstein and presumably Jeff Sessions are stonewalling, giving to Devin Nunes and the Congress? The idea that Rosenstein would threaten individual members of Congress and their staffs for engaging in their constitutionally mandated oversight responsibilities is obstruction of justice. What's wrong with the president? Why has he not fired Mr. Rosenstein and directed that he be prosecuted for obstruction?
Well, Roger, doesn't it still appear, too, not only was Obama running the show at the time to make sure Hillary Clinton did not get indicted, but also the spying on the Trump campaign. Obama was running both of those operations. Now he's kind of running the Mueller operation through proxy, which is his judge, Kimball Wood, which is the judge that sentenced Manafort for, again, I quote, alleged attempting, Roger, alleged attempting. You can fill in the blank after that. Alleged attempting rape, alleged attempting money laundering, alleged attempting witness tampering is what they put on him, but it's alleged attempting. That's a quote from Judge Kimball Wood, an Obama-appointed judge. So Obama, who, by the way, is hiding in the shadows, go figure, he's still kind of running the whole thing through proxy with his appointed judge, Kimball Wood, who, in my opinion, needs to be removed from the bench.
Well, really, the more egregious judge is Judge Jackson Berman in the District of Columbia. She's actually the one who ordered Manafort's incarceration. Paul Manafort is a political prisoner. They want to break him, to force him to plead, just like they want to find up some bogus offense to indict me on, to squeeze me to testify against the president. They want Manafort to plead guilty and testify against the president. These are police state tactics. Meanwhile, the Awan brothers, who penetrate the House computer system illegally, who have over 5,000 illegal entries into the system, who steal millions of dollars, who steal government information, don't serve a single day in jail. there's something wrong with this picture, Owen.
Well, as far as they're concerned, I think the investigation into the Awan brothers is ongoing, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Awans throw the Americans under the bus to protect their own family and to worry about their own family in Pakistan. They'll throw these Democrat actors under the bus tomorrow if it means that they can get away back to Pakistan. But I think that's yet to be seen. In the meantime, Roger, I don't know if you're aware of this, but today we are back live at our home site of warroom.show. We were banned from going live on YouTube for months, 4 months. We just got that back. So if you're looking for the main platform, you can always go to infowars.com/show, but warroom.show is our main page, and we're glad that YouTube has decided to release us from jail, and we're allowed to broadcast live from the War Room channel on YouTube once again. And again, folks, everything we do here, the expanded coverage, myself, Roger Stone, live from 3 to 6 p.m., David Knight in the morning, all the new reporters that we're seeing doing reports from the scene, it's all possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. Folks, last day for free shipping. Last day for free shipping at InfoWarsStore.com. Do you have a water filter yet? Do you have an air filter yet? Do you have emergency food supplies yet? If not, go to InfoWarsStore.com right now. Take care of yourself and get free shipping on those must-have items.
Welcome back. You're on the War Room with Owen Schroyer and Roger Stone. As Owen pointed out at the end of the last segment, nothing we do here at InfoWars would be possible without your loyal support and patronage. Whether it's the Real News with David Knight in the mornings, the iconic Alex Jones Show, heard on over 258 radio stations, simulcast nationwide, or the War Room, where we're coming into our own, now back on YouTube. This expansion, this programming is only possible through your support. And now we are in the last hours of our 34-hour special, premiering some of our very, very best products. We're talking Bio True Selenium Combo at 50% off, Brain Force Plus at 50% off, the Real Red Pill at 50% off, Silver Bullet at 50% off, the best colloidal silver product you can get, Alpha Power at 50% off, Super Male and Super Female Vitality at 50% off with free shipping, DNA Force 50% off, Floral Life products with 50% off, all with free shipping. And of course, my all-time favorite, Brain Force Plus. So do yourself a favor, help the revolution, help us fund our expansion, and fight those who would use the courts and the mainstream media to close us down by going to the InfoWars store now.
Hold on a second, Roger. Hi, my name is Michael Horowitz. I'm going to investigate this bottle and see if there's any water in it. Hold on a second.
This is known as doing the full Marco Rubio.
Nope, no water here to be found, Roger. No water.
What's amazing to me, Owen, as the media has flipped out over the fact that I only recently recalled an innocuous meeting with an FBI informant who happens to be a Russian, a meeting that produced no illegal activity, had no consequences, because I flatly rejected what I now believe was an FBI effort to entrap me and compromise Donald Trump. Instead, they focus not on the misdeeds of Comey's FBI, but more precisely ignore the fact that the so-called dirty dossier that was used to justify the surveillance of Trump campaign aides was underwritten and put together with the participation of Russian assets. If you're looking for Russian collusion, there it is. Not to mention the Russian collusion of $145 million that Bill and Hillary Clinton got from the Russian energy company at the time that the consideration of the sale of 20% of America's uranium reserves was on the table in Hillary's office. You want evidence of Russian collusion? There it is.
But think about this. Michael Horowitz, who is being questioned and testifying in front of Congress again today, has said that he is now looking into bias when it comes to Peter Strzok and others at the FBI, as far as if that bias was part of what helped launch the Trump-Russia probe. Again, he already has all of this information. Not only Strzok on the Mueller team, but all these other FBI Agent 1, FBI Agent 5, FBI Agent 8 that were all caught sending these anti-Trump texts back and forth, supporting Hillary, back and forth, all of them. They were all on the Mueller team as well. In fact, the entire Mueller team can be traced back to the Democrats. So what more investigation does Horowitz need to see? He's got all the evidence. He's documented all the evidence. It was bias that stopped the Hillary Clinton email investigation. It was bias that launched the Trump-Russia probe. You have all the evidence. We've seen all the evidence. What are you talking about? You're still investigating this.
Well, what's really troubling is that Mr. Horowitz is now in charge of the next Inspector General's report, which regards the very sensitive FISA warrants. Now, a FISA warrant can only be issued on an American citizen if that citizen is directly involved in espionage on behalf of a foreign power against the United States. Clearly, if FISA warrants were levied on Paul Manafort, Carter Page, and myself, they were done so for political purposes. This would be an egregious violation of our civil rights and our right to privacy, as well as a violation of the law. Can we count on Mr. Horowitz to tell us the truth, or is he going to say, well, this was done, but there are no legal consequences, which seems to be the result of his most recent IG report?
I'm just trying to figure out where this all comes to an end, or where the rubber meets the road, because right now it just feels like a dog chasing its tail. I mean, again, why does Horowitz come out and say, here's 500 pages of my investigation showing bias at the FBI, and then conclude the report by saying, I found no bias at the FBI? How does Michael Horowitz come out on his testimony today and say, well, I'm going to look and see if there was any bias behind the launch of the Trump-Russia probe? Mr. Horowitz, what are you talking about? We already know the bias. It's already evident. But doesn't that just tell you, though, to go back on what you just said, to get the FISA warrants, it was like a double-edged sword. They launched the Russia thing with the dossier, not only to, stew up some false narrative about Trump, Russia, or whatever. Oh, but see, now they've got their end to spy on the people. Now they've got their reason to spy on Trump and his associates like Roger Stone. They have the reason to spy on an Alex Jones. Oh, he might be the boogeyman. He might be the Russian agent. We've got a spy. They knew all along it was bogus.
No, and the timing is very coincidental. George Papadopoulos is approached in April. An FBI informant is sent in to see me in May, as I had described last night with Laura Ingraham. It is shortly thereafter that Steph Halper tries to subvert both Papadopoulos and Carter Page. You can see that the deep state is moving to infiltrate the Trump campaign to lay down faux evidence of Russian collusion.
The thing is, I don't think the American people are buying it. And even though it obviously angers us, I mean, I'm at a boiling point now. I can't believe that this is allowed to go on. I'm losing patience. Heads need to roll. I'm saying, I may be extreme in this view. I say just shut the FBI down, shut the DOJ down, and let's delegate the rank and file to state and local law enforcement, and then let's really clean house. I mean, what's the point of the FBI and the DOJ if they don't do their job? What's the point of the FBI if they do an investigation that proves X, Y, and Z, and then they say, sorry, we didn't find X, Y, and Z. What's the point of it? Well, there is no point. Shut it down. Yes, welcome back to CNN's live broadcast. We are tomorrow's news today.
Yes, that's right. We've got breaking news here. Jake Tapper for CNN. Tomorrow's news today.
It's done, Lemon. Okay, well, we just heard from CNN here. No. Sorry, CNN. We're tomorrow's news today. Actually, you're tomorrow's news, just as fake as today's news. But I wouldn't be surprised if CNN tries to steal that from us before it's all said and done. That's the kind of stuff that CNN would try to do. So, Roger, I don't know if you've heard about this story. Dem House candidate in West Virginia admits he voted for Trump. This is an up-and-coming Democrat, Richard Ojeda, who's now coming out saying he backed Trump, a Democrat here. To me, this is an interesting race to watch to see how this candidate fares and to see if the Democrats will support him or not. I don't know if this is a story you've seen yet, Roger, but what are your thoughts now? It seems like this is the smartest Democrat in the nation now.
Well, I think this has a lot to do with the demographic trend of West Virginia. Ironically, West Virginia in the 60s and 70s was one of the most reliably, heavily unionized Democratic state. Because of the Democrats' war on coal, and because of a cultural shift, West Virginia has become a more reliable Republican state, and Donald Trump carried it comfortably with a pledge to bring back the coal industry. This Democrat looks to me like he's looking for crossover voters, pro-Trump Democrats, and it looks to me like a brilliant move.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what happens with this and to see what kind of response he gets, not only from the Democrats, but just in general from the media, to see how that goes. So that's an interesting race to watch there. And if he somehow finds a way to win this election as a Democrat for Trump, boy, what does that do to the outlook of the Democrat Party that really has no identity right now? It's almost like their best option is to support Trump if that goes down. But we'll be maintaining a close eye on Richard Ojeda running for office in West Virginia, saying he backed Trump and essentially is still a Trump supporter. Again, though, it's really just refreshing for me to see anyone highlighted from the quote-unquote left that seems to be reasonable. I mean, it's almost few and far between that we find anyone from the left that gets any coverage that's reasonable. I used to feel, I'm forgetting, Tulsi Gabbard, I used to feel she was a very reasonable, logical leftist until some of the stuff that she's come out against Trump. But I don't know, for me, Roger, it's just refreshing to see that there's a Democrat or quote-unquote liberal or leftist out there that's not just totally deranged.
But I think, Owen, with 4% economic growth, with 1 million new jobs created since Trump was elected president, with 223,000 jobs created in May alone, with wages and compensation at an all-time high, with African American and Hispanic unemployment at the lowest point since they began breaking those statistics out under the Nixon administration, with the president on the cusp of a historic peace deal in North Korea, a deal that if Obama had made, the liberals would be calling brilliant.
Wait a second, Roger. No. This is Obama. No. Haven't you heard the media? This is Obama. Obama has a magic wand. He's the one bringing the jobs back. He's the one that set Trump up for the economy. He even said so in Ben Rhodes' fake book.
Yeah, I don't think anybody believes that. So the Democrats are looking for, at a very tough election, their so-called blue tidal wave, their blue tsunami, was down to a trickle, and now I think the parties are pretty much at parity. It is possible, as the corporate and personal tax cuts continue to get traction before the election, Republicans could actually gain seats in both houses, which would, of course, buck the historical trend.
Roger, I want to ask you a question with the 4 minutes we have left in this segment. And, you know, I've noticed something here, and it's strange to me. And I kind of want to get your historical, political expertise on this as far as, has it always been this way or is this something new? One of the biggest things that we're seeing from the modern left, the American left, when it comes to not just Donald Trump, but just in general, they hate big business. The millionaires are their enemies. They feel that these tax cuts are only benefiting the rich. Well, the rich pay the most taxes, so they're going to have the biggest tax cut. That's just math. Maybe they can't understand basic math. 1 + 1 = 2. But I'm just curious if for some reason here, the left that cries all day about big business and big industry, screwing over the average American, running the country, Trump's behind it all. Trump, I don't even think, is in the top 50 for American wealth. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at that. Certainly not in the top 15. But I look at these names, and number 1 and 2 and 3, you have Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg. These are renowned leftists, renowned progressive liberals, true believers, if you will. Or is it all fake? I'm beginning to wonder if these rich fat cats like Bezos, Gates, and Zuckerberg, who can account for more than $200 billion, $250 billion just on their own, it's like, is this like a camouflage thing? Is it actually the most conservative thing to conserve your wealth, to maintain all of your riches and assets? You pretend to be a progressive liberal. You have this fake liberal bent to you to virtue signal. And so then the liberal media never attacks you. The liberal street protesters never protest you. And somehow Bezos, Gates, and Zuckerberg, the 3 richest Americans, get away scot-free from the liberals that hate the wealthiest people in the world.
I think that's exactly right. In fact, I don't think those gentlemen really have an ideology other than the ideology of money and power. Google had a revolving door, had a unique relationship, for example, with the Obama administration that allowed them to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Because they pose as progressives, they're not criticized on the left for their wealth as any other business person would be. Donald Trump was in the top echelon of the wealthiest people in the country, but let's be candid. This job has cost him hundreds of millions of dollars and even more in business opportunity. He is giving these things up. He is passing up on these opportunities to serve his country. That shows that he is a selfless patriot. This is not making him money. This is costing him money. This is not helping his brand. This is polarizing his brand. I go back to something he said to Oprah Winfrey 20 years ago when she asked him, Donald, would you ever run for public office? Would you ever run for president? And he said, no, I don't think so, unless things get so bad that I have no choice. That is where we are today.
Yeah, and that is really the ultimate truth. But you want to talk about benefiting from tax cuts. I mean, Jeff Bezos is not even paying taxes, it seems like. I mean, what was the amount of money he made tax-free that had the viral story? And it's like somehow Bezos and Gates and Zuckerberg have like this shield around them when it comes to their wealth. They're avoiding taxes. They're being super rich. And they just completely avoid any scrutiny from the liberal progressive street protesters. It's incredible. So I believe that, I don't know. I mean, wherever Bezos, Gates, and Zuckerberg's politics lie, I will tell you this. The liberal bent that they project to the public provides them camouflage and an armor when it comes to criticism from the liberal media and the liberal activists in the streets. It really is amazing how they won't even say boo when it comes to Bezos, Zuckerberg, or Gates' fabulous wealth to the tune of $250 billion combined.
Welcome back. You're on the War Room, and I'm your co-host, Roger Stone. I want to remind you that you can support InfoWars and you can support me by going to the InfoWars store now to pick up your copy of Stone's Rules. This is the second most important book ever written after the Bible. This is a compendium of my road-tested maxims that were gleaned in a 40-year career in American politics. But whether you're in politics, business, media, fashion, agriculture, IT, or any other avocation, I believe this book can help you succeed. These are rules for life, rules for fashion, rules for style, rules for manner, rules for taste. And if you buy the book now at the Infowars.com site and you mail it to me at this address, P.O. Box 1007, North Federal Highway, number 166, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33304, it will be my privilege to sign it for you personally and return it to you at my own expense. Again, this is a special for Info Warriors only. Buy the book at the Infowars.com site now. Mail it to me at that address. Let's put it up one more time. 1007 North Federal Highway, number 166, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33304, and I will send it back to you. I am already getting dozens of books that I've been signing and mailing out. I will not fail to mail you yours if you buy it at the Infowars site today. Owen?
Oh, sorry, Roger. I was just sharpening up on Stone's rules here. Rule number 39, the higher you get on the flagpole, the more people can see your, well, I guess you'll just have to read it if you want to know the rest of that. Roger, I'm just curious, though. There's something incredible happening right now in the media and amongst the Democrat voter base where in the media, maybe they're brainwashed, maybe they're part of the propaganda. I think it depends on the personality. Don Lemon, probably a brainwashed stooge. Jake Tapper, probably knowingly a part of the propaganda. That's just my estimation, however. But how is it? Let's take a look at two separate issues that are the same story. Let's go back to the travel ban. We remember, oh, Trump's travel ban, Trump's travel ban, Trump's Muslim ban, Trump's xenophobic Muslim ban, Trump's xenophobic travel ban, and it permeates in the news headlines and the news cycle, and it goes on and on and on. But what is the fact? The fact is, it was Obama's travel ban. It was Obama that banned those 7 countries, not Trump. Trump just re-signed the legislation that was already passed by Obama, and then somehow it's Trump's fault. He's the bad guy. Okay, now what are we seeing? The separation of families. Different story, same story. The quote-unquote separation of families is a legal issue that's been on the books for decades that happened under the Obama administration, where actually DHS just released the numbers. Under the Obama administration, more than 500,000 illegal immigrants were prosecuted, most of which situations resulted in the separation of families. But what is the story here? The story is that they come across the border illegally, they break the law, many of them have to go to DHS or some sort of prison, depending on what they're doing here and what their past is, and yeah, they're going to be separated from their kids because their kids aren't going to go through that same process. And then there's, of course, the obvious situation is that nobody is forcing them to come here, except maybe Mexico. You know, they come here because they want a brighter future, so they choose to come here, and then they have to go through the process, but they all complain about it. But back to my point. So Obama establishes the travel ban. It gets blamed on Trump. He's the bad guy. The quote-unquote separating of families that cross the border has been going on for decades because it's just the laws on the books and how we deal with this situation. But again, it gets blamed on Trump. Trump is the bad guy. I mean, seriously, is this the lowest the Democrat Party and the media has ever gone? Or is this just how, I mean, just the general dirtbag nature of these people?
Well, there's two things going on here. One, they're desperate to distract from the fact that their Russian collusion delusion is collapsing, and the partisan nature of the Mueller investigation is more apparent every single day. At the same time, they are rewriting the facts. It was Jimmy Carter who first put on a ban on certain Muslim nations during the Iranian hostage crisis. But Donald Trump can do no good. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt for anything. Anything that good that happens in the economy, oh, that was Obama did that. Anything that's good that happens in the country, oh, that was because of his predecessor. What's amazing is how successful he has been, given the daily drumbeat of criticism and derision and personal attacks from the mainstream media. And it's having its effect on the public. I hear this from Tucker Carlson. I hear it from Alex Jones. Going out in public now is a challenge because some libtard somewhere wants to cause a beef. They complain that we have no civility in our politics. They're the ones who want to pick fights in the streets over our political differences. It's gotten to the point where it's dangerous in some parts of the country to be a Trump supporter, and that is pathetic.
Let me just provide a preface to my next comments here. I'm not a Republican. I've never been a registered Republican. I've never claimed to be a Republican. Truth be told, for the most part, I'm not a fan of the Republican Party. However, you don't have to agree with my politics. In fact, you can even think I'm crazy. Whatever you think I'm saying that's crazy or whatever, I would just say don't trust me. Look into it for yourself. But here's what I wish people would really understand, Roger. The Democrat Party and the liberals in Hollywood really, really hate you. And if they don't hate you, then they really think you're the dumbest person walking because they lie to you all day long. They provide you false narratives all day long. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. They think you don't have critical thinking. They think you don't have a memory. They think you can't read. I mean, so all I'm saying is just understand what these people really think of you. Understand what Hollywood really thinks of you. Understand what the Democrat Party really thinks of you. They hate you. They hate your prosperity. They want to see it all come to an end. That's why they virtue signal and act like they're all high and mighty and care about you, because they're the most disgusting, lying, phony people on the planet. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. So don't trust me, but please do not trust them. They have been caught in bold-faced lies and double standards time and time again, Roger.
It's extraordinary when you see people like my friend Bill Maher, who I agree with on drug reform issues, openly wish for the carnage of a bad economy just because it would take down Donald Trump. I really find that disappointing and troubling. We should want the best for our country. When Barack Obama was elected, I had my reservations, but I was for hope and change. I was hoping he would be a break with the past. I thought Guantanamo should be closed. I thought he would end our endless foreign wars. Instead, he turned out to be a continuation of the Bush administration policies. It was virtually seamless. I wish for the success of my country, regardless of who is running it, who is leading it, but that cannot be said for today's liberals.
Well, and now they'll even run a poll and laugh about it that they want to get into a nuclear war with North Korea, you know, just to spite Trump. I mean, it's the most sick thing you've ever seen. But what does it come down to? I mean, you want to get to the real grassroots of this? You want to get to where this is actually founded? It's about a hatred and a disdain for America. That's where the propaganda really begins, Roger. They have this belief that America's the bad guy. America's responsible for all the carnage in the world. America's responsible for all the racism, all the inequality, all this. And you know what? At some level, okay, maybe you're right. You look at the Hillary Clinton, you look at the Bush administration. Sure, there's fair blame to be pointed there. We'll point that out, but that's not America, Roger. And that's where their propaganda takes its roots, is they take the biggest criminals and warmongers, and then they act like that's the face of America. No, the face of America is the hardworking, honest men and women that just want to raise their own families and be independent.
You're absolutely right. In any event, it's great to be back here on the War Room. I'll be with you tomorrow. Folks, please go to the Infowars.com store and give us the support we need to continue this terrific broadcast.
Well, it is Juneteenth, and if you're not familiar with what Juneteenth is, Harrison Smith is about to break it down in his latest report. But understand this. Just like when slaves realize they're free, It's time for the average American to realize who their slave masters are. It's the corporate television media. It's the big pharmaceutical companies that control Western medicine and the corporate media. And it's the deep state that has created a political power structure that occupies all of the alphabet bureaucracies that, in my opinion, are unconstitutional. It's time for us to realize this, just like they realized they were free on Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, or June 19th, is a holiday that's not well known outside Texas, but it is quintessentially an American holiday, an official day of remembrance in 45 states, and it deserves to be honored with the same enthusiasm as July 4th. July 4th is Independence Day, and it celebrates not just the moment that Britain and the United States became separate governing bodies, but the moment that that great experiment in human freedom kicked off. Our forefathers set down a seemingly impossible and unprecedented goal to establish a land ruled by a code of law that would guarantee equal rights to all, regardless of status of birth. This dream was set down on July 4th, 1776. And it wasn't until June 19th, 1865, that that dream was realized. And so it is called by some Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, the day the promise was fulfilled, a fitting corollary to the promise of Independence Day. Juneteenth marks the anniversary of the day that the slaves in Texas, the most far-flung state of the Union at the time, learned of their freedom. While the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on September 22, 1862, the Civil War continued to rage for several years, making the decree unenforceable. It wasn't until May of 1865 that the people of Texas learned of Robert E. Lee's surrender. On June 18th, Union Army General Gordon Granger landed at Galveston Island, and from the balcony of the Ashton Villa, read General Order No. 3, announcing the total emancipation of the slaves.
The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation of the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and of rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor.
The formerly enslaved of Galveston rejoiced in the streets, and the celebrations quickly spread throughout the state. The next year, the first annual Juneteenth celebration was organized by freedmen of Texas, and the anniversary has been marked ever since with parades, barbecues, and festivals in cities across Texas and throughout the United States. Slavery was the great contradiction at the heart of the United States, a contradiction that could not be reconciled with the sacred tenets of her foundation. And yet the resolution of the contradiction was demanded by our founding documents. The chart to emancipation was set down in the Constitution. Or rather, that ultimate goal was established, an ideal objective set on the horizon like a brightly burning star by which our ancestors fixed their navigation, a jewel sought through stormy seas. Obviously, the Emancipation Proclamation did not instantly bring about the racial equality it promised. Like the founding documents, it was only a proclamation, a new reality for the country to grapple with. For the slaves who were supposedly free, abuse, oppression, and inequality of law continued to exist long after, lingering echoes with effects that are still being felt today. And so it's right that the celebration of Freedom Day be a celebration of the African American people, and of the priceless contribution they make to the fabric of America, to the culture that dominates the globe. It's a testament to the trials they've endured as their nation struggles to uphold the principles it espouses. It should be a day for people of all races to celebrate the freedom of African Americans, to remember the day 155 years ago your countrymen were freed from unjust bondage, to celebrate the ideals that represents, the richness such a blessing has bestowed, and to remember the promise that proclamation aimed to fill. The promise laid out by the Founding Fathers in the summer of 1776.
I kind of want to do a social experiment where next time I go out to a Trump protest or some liberal activism deal, I probably would need to go undercover if I even can anymore. But I would attempt to go undercover, and my challenge would be, can I get any of these liberal street activists to respond to a question pertaining to Trump policy without saying racist, bigot, xenophobe, Nazi, or white supremacist? I wonder, that's a serious challenge. I don't know if you could actually do that. That's interesting enough. Maybe Savannah can do that the next time she goes out and does a man on the street. You got a stack of news pertaining to the immigration and the Democrat liberal media response. There was one story I saw on your stack that was incredible to me. The Pew Research Center finds that people are struggling to tell the difference between fact and opinion. I would actually spin that a different way. I don't think it's fact and opinion. I think it's fact and propaganda. But the sad thing is they never even see the facts. And then when they do see the facts, they just reject the facts. So what do you make of this Pew Research study that you brought in that says that people are now having a hard time finding the difference between fact and opinion?
I mean, I think it's a really good reflection of just America as a whole now. I mean, in the story as well, it kind of talks about how even when they are presented with actual facts, if it doesn't lean towards their political party's, understanding of what's going on in America and everything like that, they still won't believe it and they still won't take it as fact. I think this one here, it says, increasing the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour is essential for the health of the U.S. economy. And of course, a lot of Democrats said that that was fact. I thought that was really interesting. And which of course, that's just a theory. You cannot claim that as fact. That is a economic theory. Exactly. But a lot of Democrats now think that that's a basic fact and that that's how we're going to help out our country. Yeah, very interesting stuff. So I do understand that better then. That's taking theory. So that's like the theory of socialism. Oh, yeah, we can pay for everything. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. No, that's a theory. And every time that theory meets the road, it collapses. So this isn't even really dealing necessarily with propaganda, in fact. This is just people taking theory and believing it's true, even though it's never even tested the course of time. Exactly, and just straight opinion as well. And I think that's why in the mainstream media, we're seeing a lot of the times people, they're taking the opinions that these mainstream media journalists are giving them, and they're taking them and they are using them as fact, and they think it's just fact. I mean, we also have another study that came out that talks about how 4 in 10 people have deleted their social media accounts over the past year because of privacy violations, and also due to the fact that there's been a really wide circulation of fake news, and people are becoming very aware of that now. Are you one of the 4 in 10 people, Savannah? I am, actually. I really have started cutting back on my social media usage just because it's just a huge waste of time, and I do get really tired of seeing these CNN clips popping up on my news feeds from 2 years ago about white cops killing black kids, or Obama speaking on these immigration policies now. I haven't been on Facebook. It's probably been 5 years. I gave up Twitter this year. I will every once in a while get on the War Room's Twitter account and tweet out there, but it's not very often. So I'm definitely one of these 4 people. The one social media that I do still like to use every once in a while for just peer-to-peer communication is Snapchat, for multiple reasons. I do like Snapchat, but now they've changed Snapchat, and you can't even avoid the propaganda. Now, if you watch your friend's video, once it finishes and you click, then it goes to something that they already have inserted in there. Right. And it's always some liberal bent hysteria nonsense thing about Trump. I mean, and it's always so lying to me. And it's like, I can't even use Snapchat now, which I enjoy sending, silly stuff to friends or, pictures of my tortoise or something. It's fun. It's peer-to-peer. But now it's like, now I want to get rid of that. I just can't deal with the propaganda. Definitely. I mean, I know the Snap Stories or Snapchat did have like their little news section, and that used to just be, Snapchat news. Give me a break. It used to be Kim Kardashian, the latest makeup trends, blah, 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 all of that. If it was just Kim Kardashian, I could deal with it. Yeah, but now, I mean, politics are coming into it. You are seeing those stories about Trump, and, they are infiltrating every single aspect of social media. I bet you I can pull it up right now. Here, keep talking. I'm going to pull up Snapchat right now, and I bet you I can find some negative story just right in the front fold. Definitely. Ooh, and I mean, 9 sexy kisses you have to try. Yeah. Give me a break. This is all you get, so there you go. Yeah. So far, though, nothing anti-Trump. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by that. There you go. So either irrelevant news that you can never actually use, or, anti-Trump news. That's all you get to choose from. Thank you, Snapchat. Yeah, of course. For not hating on Trump today. There's Kim Kardashian. Yeah, the Kardashians are always on there. Always, always. That's a given. That's fine. That's fine. I'm actually glad today that you can go on Snapchat and not have to deal with the
anti-Trump propaganda. You know, another reason why I think people are ditching it, though, this story came out on the week yesterday, and we already know this. This was part of the Vault 7 leaks, which I'm going to get into that later, too. There's big news about this Vault 7 leaks I need to talk about, but this was from the week. The government's creepy obsession with your face.
I saw that one, too.
So it talks about how the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and everybody, including HART, the Homeland Advanced Recognition Technology. Okay, look, the only reason you can use Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all of these things for free is because they're selling your data. Part of that data is your biometric face data. So now the government has all of your biometric face data thanks to these apps, and that's part of the usage agreement you sign off to with the terms and conditions that you check and say accept, is now they can sell that data. Part of that is the biometric recognition, which is your facial technology. So now I think people are realizing the nasty kind of behind the curtains operations of social media, which is just gathering your data and then selling it not just to third private parties, but to the government.
Right, and people are starting to realize that there is a big violation of their privacy. And when I saw that story as well, the first thing I thought about was China and their social system and how they're using facial scanning and facial recognition to kind of rate their citizens on their social score. And, you know, so seeing this kind of story, I'm like, okay, well, is America headed that exact same way? I was reading into that, and, you know, jaywalking across the street is going to lower your social point in China, which is going to allow you to not be able to leave the country, you know, not be able to have just several things.
Well, and what it's going to do, and China will see this first, they actually already have it. So now the cameras that are everywhere on the street and cell phones everywhere, they have your facial data, and they're constantly scanning, hitting all these data points, measuring all these data points, and they can scan your face in real time. And then if you're on some wanted list or this, it's like the movie Idiocracy. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the guy can't travel around because every time he travels, the camera picks up on him and it alerts the police. That's what's coming next with the facial recognition technology. And while I think there's benefits, obviously, to some of the technological advances humans have had, there's also kind of, you know, dark undertones to stuff like this. I don't think I'm ready for facial technology to be everywhere. I'm not ready for a social score. To me, that seems a little Orwellian, but that's what's coming to China, and I think that's what's behind the government gathering all this biometric data.
Definitely, definitely.
So there you see a little graphic right there. I guess that's a conceptual image of the social score in China. And then there's the Black Mirror episode.
Yep.
I think it was the first of season 3 or season 4.
That's actually the first Black Mirror episode that I ever watched. My friends were like, okay, watch this one. It's a really great one. I watched it and I was so depressed after. I was like, that'd be so sad if life was actually like that. And then this story about China came out.
But it is like that.
Yeah, and I was like, well, that's what's going to happen to America. Here, it's coming. It's coming.
And then what they did is InfoWars had that story years ago, how the Chinese were bringing the social score, and then they bring it to Black Mirror. I'm not saying Black Mirror stole it from us. It's just a common issue. But Black Mirror hits on these things, and they're like, oh, yeah, you stole that narrative from Black Mirror. No. We're Tomorrow's News Today, not CNN. Sorry. Not even Black Mirror, which is a show that I actually like. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the War Room. Owen Schroyer, joined in studio by Savannah Hernandez, and she was doing a little of a deep dive into all the fake news against President Trump. Of course, this was published by Cheryl Atkinson. I think that was that June 12th or something that she published that? And you were just amazed because you're sitting here today, they're calling Trump a Nazi, this, that, the other thing. And it's just like, well, wait a second. Why should we believe these people? Look at all the lies that they've already told about President Trump.
Definitely. And I mean, I think since starting working here, one of my biggest passions has been just how fake the mainstream media is, because like I said, that's where I always got my interpretation of everything that was going on politically, going on in the world. And I thought it was really crazy to see how fake the media really is and how biased they are. And, you know, even going into this story, Cheryl Atkinson, she notes 50 times the media reported mistakes or missteps in the media, major mainstream media sources. And I just think that that's crazy. We see here they tried to falsely accuse Melania of being an illegal immigrant in the 90s. We also see how they tried to say that Trump didn't pay income taxes for 18 years.
And he paid more than the Democrats combined.
Exactly. And then
Bernie and Hillary, just to clarify, I'm sorry.
I think it's actually Bernie and Obama. It is. It's Bernie and Obama.
Okay. Probably Hillary, throw her in there too, but that's
might as well. Yeah, and then we see here TMZ reported that Trump tried to change the name of Black History Month to African American History Month. You know, that one, I was just like, okay, that even goes into, you know, like the division in our country. Like, this is point blank, black and white, the mainstream media just trying to perpetuate that and trying to divide us even more. We have the AP reporting that Trump threatened to invade Mexico. This is the same AP that reported that Trump, you know, equated all illegal immigrants to animals solely when he was talking about MS-13. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of AP in here as well. They really like to just string the people along when it comes to Trump.
AP loves fake news. Can I inject just a little fake news from AP?
Please do, actually.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because my biggest thing, if I'm an expertise in anything, and I don't claim to be an expert or anything like that, I claim to be doing play-by-play of everyday life in America here. But if there is one thing that I'm an expert in, it really is media analysis. And that's because I spend 10 hours a day following the media. So if I do have an expertise, I feel like it's that. But here's an example of the Associated Press for you. So the Associated Press tweets this out 2 days ago in the morning. Breaking, French media, woman crying God is great, has injured two with box cutter at a supermarket in southern France. That's the AP. Of course, what is the real story? And this is from the Independent, which is not left or right-leaning. If anything, maybe left-leaning. But woman crying Allahu Akbar attacks two people in French supermarket with box cutter. So there's just an example of the Associated Press. Now, does Allahu Akbar mean God is great in a translation? Okay, well, I guess you could make that case. But let's be perfectly clear. This is the Associated Press wanting to avoid associating this with any religion, with Islam. That's all this is. But that's just an example that I have here. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, the AP Press is one of the several mainstream media sources that I've seen continuously come up. And even just now paying attention to the news, just AP is wilding out. That's all I have to say about that.
Wait a second. I got another fake news story here. Okay. This is from CNN. This is hilarious. All right. Have you ever ridden the subway?
I have ridden the tube in London. I would hope that that's similar, maybe. Yes.
Well, when you were riding the tube, did anyone ever bump into you or push you?
Yes.
Really?
A couple of times on accident.
Really?
Yeah.
That shocks me. They must be racist.
Obviously.
Well, that's what CNN is saying, because they say 1 in 4 Muslim women in New York say they have been pushed on a subway platform while wearing a hijab. Actually, I would say that that's, if anything, that's proof that people don't want to push you if you're wearing a hijab. I'd say 4 out of 4 average American not in a hijab gets pushed on a subway.
I mean, you know, Owen, honestly, as soon as someone comes and bumps into me, I immediately scream racism, because there's no other, there's no other point that could be argued there.
Could you imagine, though, being pushed on a subway and saying, "Oh, racist"? It's like, the door is 4 feet wide. This person is 2 feet wide. I had to squeeze in somehow. No, you pushed me. I'm wearing a hijab. Meanwhile, there's like dozens of attacks on Jewish people happening every day in New York from people that they believe are Muslim, but they never find them. They come, they cold clock them, they beat them in the street, and then they run away. So who really knows what's going on? But again, it's all about painting a picture that if you're a Muslim in America, you're experiencing some sort of racism. But of course, wouldn't you understand that when we're supposed to believe that Muslims attacked our country on 9/11 and killed 3,000 people, and then we went to war with radical Islamic terrorists? So are we at war with radical Islamic terrorists? Did they bring down the Twin Towers, actually 3 buildings? Did they attack the Pentagon, or did they not? So it's like we're floating in this no man's land where, hey, you better support the war. Radical Islamic terror brought down the Twin Towers. They're the boogeyman. More war in the Middle East. Oh, but then the Muslims come here and we're supposed to treat them like gods. I mean, where is the middle ground there? It doesn't make sense. And the average American just has no idea this is going on. But you've got more fake news stories. Did you want to get to those?
I mean, let's see.
Or I was call Trump a Nazi. You can do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely was looking over a lot of the news stories that are still continuously, relating Republican or being pro-Trump to Nazism. I have one here today. Where did it go? It says, New Yorker fact checker under fire after mistaking ice workers' tattoo for a Nazi symbol. So we have that one there. I know a couple of weeks ago.
That's like, what was the girl who saw like a little drawing in the ground? It was Sarah Silverman. Guys, remember when Sarah Silverman saw like some chalk drawing in the ground and said it was like a Nazi symbol? Pull that up. These people are totally deranged.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything is just Nazi symbols nowadays. I mean, we're talking about immigration. People are saying it's like the Holocaust. People are saying these camps.
Yeah, because we're forcing these people to come to our country. We're forcing them to do that. Yeah, Sarah Silverman slammed after erroneous swastika tweet.
Yeah, no, it's really ridiculous.
It was marking a pipe in the ground. This woman is so stupid. Okay, go to a history class, Sarah. Oh, my goodness.
I remember that one for sure. But yeah, no, and I mean, even Hillary. Okay, so she's fundraising for the humanitarian crisis at the border. And I was reading her excerpt, and my favorite part of it is children incarcerated in warehouses and, according to more than one account, kept in cages. You know, she's talking about that, talking about those same pictures, which were from the 2014 Obama administration.
Yeah, and there's all the video coming out where they have the I guess it's the aluminum blankets or whatever it is.
Yeah, the little foil blankets. Yeah, that the little kids are all underneath.
But here's what they don't tell you. Is this an issue? Yes. Do we want to see the situation? No. But why has it gotten here? Because we have a wide open border, 50,000 people pouring in every month. Where do you want these people to go? But again, why doesn't Jeff Bezos take them in? He's got over $100 billion. Why doesn't the liberal media and the street activists call upon Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates, worth a combined $250 billion? Why don't they build a bunch of homeless shelters or shelters at the border for these people? Because they're phonies and frauds. From the top, Jeff Bezos, to the bottom, the liberal street activists. Savannah Hernandez, thanks for joining me. If it's too tough for you here, just go do a report calling Trump a Nazi. You'll get hired by the Young Turks, I'm sure. All right, we'll be right back. I've got more news on the other side. Don't go anywhere. All right, let me clear this stack of news here on the immigration rhetoric that's going on, coming out of the Democrats. Hey, guys, actually, will you pull up Eric Swalwell's Twitter real quick? Eric Swalwell put out a tweet today that was just as egregious as Vicente Fox's. You know, I just can't believe these people, in all honesty. Our president is lying to us. He is separating children from their parents and caging them. This is not normal, and say it every day until that changes. I mean, just what an absolute liar this guy is. And I'll just say this, Eric, it's reached a point for you where I'm afraid that you have become so mentally deranged. I think Child Protective Services need to think about removing your children from you. I think that maybe we need to separate Eric Swalwell from his family, and then he can rethink about spreading total misinformation and propaganda and trying to tear this country apart on lies. Because if you actually believe this, you are mentally deranged. And I expect that from an average street protester. That's fine. They're drugged out of their minds. They're clueless. Perfectly understandable. But Eric Swalwell is a member of intelligence committees and a representative from California. An IQ of 2 after he takes brain force, 0 regularly. I mean, again, how somebody can come out and just be a blatant liar, a known propaganda artist. You need to be locked up, Eric, for your own mental health, for your children's health. You're a deranged lunatic. You have serious mental problems, sir. But you know what's even scarier? People in California are apparently about to vote him back into office. So let's go back into this. This comes from the Federalist today. Democrats' border separation bill would let nearly all parents who commit federal crimes get off scot-free. Well, yeah, it's just like, think about it like this. See, this is how you know the Democrats are total frauds. They want to complain about, oh, separating children from families. Well, what about the abortion clinics? Does that not separate children from their families? Okay, regardless. What about any crime? What about the individual that gets caught, I don't know, selling marijuana or something, and he gets locked away? What about the African-American individual that gets locked away for having crack cocaine, and he gets separated from his family? Do the Democrats cry foul about that? What about the American that gets caught with an illegal firearm in New York or what have you? In California, they go to jail and they get separated from their family. Do the Democrats care about that? Do the Democrats care about Paul Manafort getting jailed and separated from his family? No. The Democrats only virtue signal when they can do it for political purposes. But now, the new bill, but this is what they're already doing. This isn't new. Again, this is so insane. And Jeff Sessions said it on Fox. The comparisons to Nazi concentration camps. Again, you need to be locked up. In fact, I've said this before. I may be extremist in some of the things I say, but it really is a real solution. These people need to be put in mental institutions. I mean, what else can you do? If you really are that mentally deranged, if you suffer from such delusions of grandeur that you think Trump is like Hitler and what's going on at the border only under Trump is like concentration camps, you need to have your head examined. Maybe even a lobotomy, but that's not legal anymore. I'm serious. I mean, but it starts at the top. Look at Adam Schiff. Oh, the Republicans and Trump are colluding with Russia. Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is Adam Schiff's office. Yes, hello. We are Russians. We have information for you about Donald Trump. Oh, yes, I would like that information. Haha, just kidding. You got prank called, idiot. Haha. Oops, Adam Schiff, complete idiot. Democrats vote him back into office. I'm digressing. But here's where Trump can actually do himself a favor. And I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying, but this is where he could do himself a favor. He says, Democrats want illegal immigrants to infest our country. Well, this is the type of rhetoric they can spin against him. What he needs to be saying is, Democrats want illegal immigrants to create a voter bloc. That's all this is. This isn't about children. This isn't about immigration policy. For the Democrats, this is 100% about votes. That's what Trump's message needs to be. So he needs to change his message to say the only reason why Democrats are doing this is because they're desperate for votes. They don't have the votes to take back Congress. They don't control the African-American vote anymore. So they're desperate. They need to legislate themselves millions of votes. That's what this is all about. Trump needs to change his rhetoric on that. I go on. Trump pledges to not let the United States become a migrant camp. Well, you say, oh, he's a xenophobe. Oh, he's racist. No, he's smart. No, he has a survival instinct. What am I talking about? This is what happens when you let your countries become migrant camps. DMV visits can top 5 hours. If you're in the state of California and you want to go to the DMV, it's going to cost you half of your day. Same thing here in Texas. You have to plan an entire day around going to the DMV. It doesn't take an hour or two. It takes a whole day. That's what happens in border states with a wide open border that becomes sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and migrant camps. American citizens can't even get the services that they pay for. I'm from the state of Missouri. It takes an hour to go to the DMV in Missouri. I used to think that was bad. Now here in Texas, a border state, I have to take a day off work and cancel all my plans to go to the DMV. That's what happens when you become a migrant camp. I go on. Almost 1,000 people injured and killed in terrorist attacks by refugees. This is according to the latest data coming from the Heritage Foundation. So over a span of 4 years, refugees in Germany accounted for 1,000 people being injured or killed in terrorist attacks. That's what happens when you become a migrant camp. That's what Trump is trying to stop. I go on. Terrified San Francisco tourists shocked by aggressive vagrants, discarded needles, dead bodies, feces on the streets. Sanctuary city run by Democrats. San Francisco, hellhole. Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, says he's not going to deploy the National Guard at the border. He says New York will not be party to this inhumane treatment of immigrant families along our border. No, they're not immigrant families. Immigrant families are immigrant families. These are non-citizens. But what about the inhumane treatment of non-citizens to Americans like this? Illegal alien from Mexico charged with killing 14-year-old boy. Miguel Serreta, an illegal alien from Mexico, was arrested and charged with reckless driving that resulted in the death of a 14-year-old boy. So what about that, Andrew Cuomo, you worm? Kirsten Nelson says today, 10,000 of those currently in custody were sent by their parents with strangers. So this is, I mean, again, it's so incredible. The parents are the ones that choose to be separated from their kids, either by sending them here or when they get here saying, I'm going to apply for asylum. They go to DHS, the kid goes to HHS. It's on the books. It's been on the books. They're told this. They know this. They choose to be separated from their families. And then somehow it's Trump's fault, but not until Obama's out of office, you see? It all happened during Obama too, but it's not Obama's fault. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Republicans hope to reach out to Democrats to see if they can get a result. I was halfway hoping Mitch McConnell was going to say he was hoping Republicans would reach out to Democrats and strangle them, but that's not the case. It's just unbelievable. And then the data comes out, $35,000 annually for a child that comes here illegally, $13,000 annually for a middle-class family that raises a child. How do you like them apples? Okay, well, despite the fact that it's a total disgrace what's going on out of the FBI and the DOJ during the Obama administration, and then kind of just being ignored, really, at least as far as doing anything about it by the Trump administration. Perhaps there is some hope here, as listen to what Michael Horowitz and Christopher Wray said during their testimony when it comes to Comey. Some very leaning insinuations being made here.
Investigating Comey's handling of his memos, and does that include the classification issues? And should Mr. Comey expect a report when it is complete?
We received a referral on that from the FBI. We are handling that referral, and we will issue a report when the matter is complete, consistent with the law and rules that are, and a report that's consistent and takes those into account.
Okay.
On May 3rd, 2017, then Director Comey testified before this committee that he had, quote, never, and never was his words, been an anonymous source in any news matters related to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation.
He lied.
He further testified in response to questioning from the chairman that he had not ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration. He answered simply and categorically no.
The leaking liar.
Now, in contrast to that, former Deputy Director McCabe has stated that Director Comey was aware of his leaking to the press. Moreover, his lawyer says he has email records that demonstrated Director Comey was aware of his leaking to the press all during the time it was happening. Both of their statements cannot be true. It is not possible, logically, for Director Comey to be telling the truth and for former Deputy Director McCabe to be telling the truth. So, Director Wray, tell us, which one is telling the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Senator, unfortunately, I can't answer that question because of an ongoing matter.
Very leaning insinuations there from Horowitz and Wray. And you saw the story today. James Comey being investigated for possible mishandling of classified material. But more so, how about the perjury? That would be nice. But will anything happen? That is the question. Now, real quick, guys, I want to go to clip 18. Let's just get this out of the way. Trump orders the Pentagon to create new branch of the military, the Space Force. Go ahead and roll clip 18.
Administration is reclaiming America's heritage as the world's greatest spacefaring nation. The essence of the American character is to explore new horizons and to tame new frontiers. But our destiny beyond the earth is not only a matter of national identity, but a matter of national security. So important for our military, so important, and people don't talk about it. When it comes to defending America, it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. So important. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
Okay, now, look, here, I just want to say something about this. We can't balance a budget. We can't even figure out our border. How in the hell are we launching a Space Force? Now, is there good that could come of this? Is it cool? Is it pioneering? Yes, and I think that that's all fine and dandy. However, I can't get behind this just at a whim like this. This needs to have a more serious debate before we send more government funds to our military that's already the most expensive military. It's more expensive than every other military on earth combined. So I cannot just jump into this Space Force and be a fan of it. I'm sorry. Again, maybe I could get behind it, but I'm not just going to jump into this blindly and act like we need to be dominating in space. We can't even figure out a damn border, okay? We've got people in this country that can't tell fact from fiction. And you want to go dominate space? Let's try to figure out things on Earth first before we go to space and try to dominate that as a military branch. But that's just my opinion. But again, we don't have the money, and we can't even figure out what's going on at the border, but we're going to launch a Space Force. And then on the other side of this, you know, NASA has lied to us so much. Even some of the biggest claims that NASA makes are lies. And so I just can't get behind it anymore, to be honest with you. And I want to see expansion. I'd love to see us pioneer to space. I'd love to learn the mysteries of the universe. It's all fine. It's all great to me. But I don't want to use that human drive to discover and manifest mysteries to take advantage of us and fleece us like sheep. So I'm a little hesitant about this. And personally, I think at this point, space travel and space exploration should be left to the private sector. Because I don't trust the government enough. I don't trust NASA. We don't have a balanced budget, and we can't even figure out a border, yet somehow we're going to have a Space Force. It just doesn't add up to me. But we'll have to see what results from that. All right, let me hit these final news stories here before we move on and finish for the day. CIA engineer, 29-year-old Joshua Schulte, charged with possessing child pornography, is now charged with leaking thousands of classified documents to WikiLeaks. Now, I want to be very clear about something here. Joshua Schulte is the CIA engineer who apparently hacked the CIA, got all of the sensitive information about how they spy, how they can hack and everything, leaked it to WikiLeaks. And that then became the Vault 7 leaks that is everything you expected, how the government can and does spy on you. Now, the story is he's been caught with a bunch of child pornography. Well, I actually had I consulted with Alex on this. And usually, I mean, Alex trusts me enough. Only when we have big stories like this do we consult and try to figure out what's going on. But we're both leaning the way of this is a setup. Because what are you going to do with Joshua Schulte, who exposes the true Orwellian state of our CIA and its power to be Big Brother and spy on everything you do? Well, what are you going to do? Okay, well, you can say he's a traitor. That's fine. That wears off. The public is going to appreciate him for his willingness to share this information at the end of the day. Oh, but then you say he's a pedophile. He gets caught with child porn. Now, all of a sudden, you have dehumanized him, and you make a chilling effect on reporting on him in alternative media because they know we fight against pedophilia and child trafficking and the child sex rings, so we may not touch it anymore. So this is an interesting one. I'm not sure if there'll be any more developments on this, but I just had to put it out there. Joshua Schulte, the hacker from the CIA that released the Vault 7 leaks to WikiLeaks, has also been charged with possessing child pornography. Is it a setup? I think that that's a fair debate to be had. I need to pile drive through these. Police investigating another mysterious explosion in Bucks County after tractor cutting grass strikes device. So there's been all these explosions and weird sounds coming from all over the nation, but Pennsylvania, the FBI is even looking into it. A man on a tractor essentially runs over, I guess would be some sort of cheap or homemade landmine, and now they're thinking that I guess there's just these IEDs sitting around that are causing these booms. I'm not buying it, but either way, strange story. Monsanto squares off with man dying of cancer in Roundup trial. Monsanto has had to settle hundreds, if not thousands, of cases when it comes to the Roundup causing cancer. They usually just are able to reach a settlement. Well, now people are not willing to settle. Monsanto could be in trouble with that. You know, I'm going to save these two stories because they're too important. Please support us at InfoWarsStore.com, folks. Free shipping store-wide. Get an air filter. Get a water filter. If you don't have an air and water filter yet, what are you waiting for? Now's the time. Free shipping at InfoWarsStore.com. Half off many of our top-selling supplements. It's all at InfoWarsStore.com. You stay classy, InfoWarriors.
Guaranteeing your food independence is a crucial part of prepping. Between debt crisis, natural disasters, or even simple power outages, having a supply of storable meals is crucial. With InfoWars Life Select storable food, you can make sure you and your family are ready for any emergency. With drinks, snacks, and meals in amounts ranging from 72 hours to a full year, there's no better place to look for healthy, easy, and incredible meals. Including meals such as Traveler Stew, Homestyle Potato Soup, and a variety of other meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, InfoWars Life Select storable food will help you eat comfortably in a time of need. They even work great for camping. Simply pack a 72-hour kit to go and you have easy-to-cook and transport food for you and your loved one's trip. Don't be caught surprised by an emergency. Make sure you're stocked up today with all the food you need for an affordable price with InfoWars Life Select storable foods.
Introducing FloraLife, the new probiotic line developed exclusively by InfoWars Life after years of research on the human microbiome. Not all probiotics are made the same. FloraLife probiotics use a unique targeted delivery system that bypasses the stomach and releases directly into the intestines for maximum effect. This is critical because stomach acid kills most probiotics. So if you don't have a targeted delivery probiotic, then you're cheating your gut health and your wallet. FloraLife supports your body's core where you need it most, including digestion, regularity, immunity, the gut lining, and metabolism. Did you know that over 80% of your immune system is located in your gut? That's why increasing gut probiotic levels is so important for overall health. FloraLife is sold as a 15 billion probiotic for everyday maintenance care and a 50 billion probiotic for a 30-day advanced gut restoration program. Head to InfoWarsLife.com to pick up your bottle of FloraLife probiotics today. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Every morning before I start writing or shooting a video, I take 2 capsules of Brain Force for a sustainable burst of energy. This is, without question, the most powerful nootropic I've ever taken, and it comes without any of the crashes or the jitters associated with energy drinks. It's additive-free, nothing artificial. It's Brain Force Plus. Read thousands of 5-star independent reviews right now and get your Brain Force Plus at InfoWarsLife.com.
InfoWars Life is bringing you a breakthrough in modern medicine. We have found an extraordinary new natural way to help alleviate seasonal distress symptoms, including promoting clear nasal and sinus passageways, eye comfort, and respiratory health and normal breathing. This is pollen block. In the 1960s, researchers in France noticed that people who ate certain quail eggs from specific farms experience less seasonal distress symptoms like runny nose, itchy, watery eyes, and excessive mucus production. They began studying the effects in published trials, in their published trials. Now we are introducing the fruit of the research, a fast-acting chewable tablet. Just chew 2 tablets at the first sign of seasonal distress, and fast-acting pollen block starts working in about 15 minutes to help alleviate seasonal distress. Enjoy the air you breathe naturally with fast-acting pollen block. Available now at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.